Ephesians 5 begins with this command to walk in the way of love. It says this: walk in the way of love just as Christ loved us and gave himself up for us. Walk in the way of love. Paul is basically going to outline what love is not, and then he's going to give two good examples of what love is, which is the church and then marriage. What love is not, and then two ways that we see what love is. Sexual immorality is not love. The Ephesians would have been very familiar with the idea of lewdness or sex being used to please an idol or a god at the temple. And in some ways, we still see this idea being taught today. This idea that God is love, and therefore God must love all forms of love. Any kind of love must be celebrated by God because God is love. That's really, in some ways, that's very similar to the teaching that the Ephesians would have seen at the temples in Ephesus. But you see that Paul actually goes the opposite way. Verse 3 says there should be no hint of sexual immorality. And then in verse 4, he says it's not even something that should be joked about. So God is a God of love, but love is defined as something that is giving. True love is serving others. Lust is always self-serving. It's interested in satisfying self. So sexual immorality is completely non-conducive to our God of love. Perhaps this whole section, this whole chapter could be summed up with this verse in verse 8. You were once darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Live as children of the light. Sin loves darkness. I heard it said once that lust and dishonesty are twin sisters. Someone who really struggles with sexual sin has, in almost every case, become an expert in hiding their tracks, in making themselves appear better than they are. Even when cornered, someone struggling with sexual sin will generally downplay their sin, will make themselves appear better than they are. They won't tell the whole story. Lust and dishonesty are twin sisters. But verse 11 says, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. So one of the secrets to fighting sin, especially sexual sin, but fighting all sin, is to bring it out of secrecy and into the light, to bring honesty to the struggle. If you're struggling with sexual sin, the first and best thing you should do is tell someone. Will this undo years of habits? No, it won't. But it's a great first step. And the truth is, your sin will never be dealt with as long as it remains in darkness, as long as you are still dishonest with yourself and with others about the struggle. So the chapter starts with this command: walk in the way of love. First, we see what love is not. Love is not sexual immorality. It's never hidden in darkness. And then we see two good examples of what love is. First of all, we see the church. Verse 19, he talks about speaking to one another with psalms, hymns, and songs from the Spirit. Sing and make music from your heart to the Lord, always giving thanks. Here is true joy and light. The fellowship you have as a group, the fellowship we share as a church, that is love. That is what love looks like. And then a second example of what love is in marriage. And not just any marriage, not just any two people who are bound together, but specifically one that reflects the relationship between Christ and the church. And we see, in contrast to sexual immorality, we see that this relationship is not at all self-serving. Verse 21 says that husband and wife submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. They're not asking for submission from the other, they are submitting to the other. Love, as defined by God, is a giving thing. And this is a great example. Even if you're a single person, seeing a good, godly marriage is a great example of what love looks like and helps us understand who God is and how he relates to the church. How does Christ love the church? Wholeheartedly, self-sacrificially, despite her flaws and failures. Christ loves the church forever because he has made a covenant with her. That is what a good marriage looks like. And that is an image of what love is. A good, godly marriage and a good, healthy church both showcase what love is, and they help us understand this command to walk in the way of love.